Okay, there we go. Sweet. Okay, so um, every month we put together these meetings for people that are entrepreneurs, that are entrepreneurially minded. Whenever I became an entrepreneur, I became an entrepreneur not really by choice, but because I had to. I needed to feed my family, and what I was doing at the time wasn't really paying for the bills, and so I felt like there was either really bad unsolicited advice or just really bad free advice. And then usually it would go from that to really expensive, probably really good advice, but I just couldn't afford it at that time. And so after learning quite a bit of lessons and having some success in business, we own several different companies, manage probably about five to $600,000 a year in reoccurring income through all of our companies. Um, and so what I realized was that when people start a business, usually it's not because they want to take over the world or save the entire world. It's usually like, I'm just trying to feed my family, trying to pay the bills. And then once they get a little bit more success, it's like, maybe I do want to save the world, you know? And so my passion is to be able to do what I wish I had when I first started out. You know, so if you're making less than, I don't know, $30,000 to $40,000 a month in revenue, I think a lot of this advice would be valuable to you. Uh, there are there is a framework that worked for me that I didn't learn until I connected the dots way before, which is what I call identity based goals. I mean, we make goals all the time, which is good. We should make goals. Um, and it's kind of like most people make goals, but we just fail to do this stuff every single day, which is what we need to do to make sure that we accomplish those goals. But then what I never realized was that everything is really attached to our identity. And so if that doesn't change, we can have some success and probably accomplish some goals. But if this doesn't change, we really will not have ongoing sustainable results. And so the framework that has worked for us is you want to address the inner man first. Most people, when starting a company or wanting to grow a company, they're like, I need to fix my marketing strategy, my sales strategy. I need to change my logo, different things like that, which is great. All that stuff can help. But most of the time, the reason why your business is not going to the next level is because there's something internally that is blocking the success from going to the next level. You know. Secondly, I just call it business 101. Um, we fail sometimes to just simply know the business basics on how to grow a business and what it takes to grow a business, which is really just providing value to people and having really good systems within your business to make sure that your business works for you rather than your business working. No. Your business working for you rather than you constantly working in the business. And then the third one is technology. You want to make sure that in today's day and age, you want to know how to incorporate technology in your business to make sure that you are not doing monotonous stuff where you're just kind of wasting your time. You don't essentially just utilizing technology. And then this one is really just accountability, which I'll talk more about that at the very end. But here's what I want to focus on today is the inner man when it comes to identity-based goals. So I want you to kind of think of one thing that keeps happening over and over and over again in your life. Whether it's I keep on dating the same kind of people, I keep on having the same kind of fitness, financial issues. You know, what's up? It's all good. I keep on having the same financial issues. I keep on having the same problems with people. is usually not an external problem, it's usually an internal thing. You're attracting the same stuff into your life. Have you guys ever heard this thing that says, man, what is it called? What is it called? It's speak stuff into existence. Have you guys ever heard that before? It's actually not true. It's not a true statement because you and I cannot create anything. Everything that everything that will ever be created it's already been created. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that you and I can do is attract things into our lives, because if you and I could create stuff, we would be creating some different stuff in our life. You know what I'm saying? So you and I cannot create anything. The only thing that we can do is become the person that would attract those things into our lives. And by default, if you are, say, a six-figure person, you would attract a six-figure income. You know what I'm saying? So the inner man, I want you to think of one thing that keeps happening in your life. Perhaps you keep on having dips in your finances. Perhaps you keep on dating the same kind of people. I don't know what it is, right? Whatever that looks like. And then begin to think about the qualities that you feel like are attracting that same thing. Perhaps is overspending. You're going to see a lot of that in the financial world, Whatever that looks like, it's always attached to a thought process. So when me and Brittany first got married, we were about to have our first baby, and our card got declined for $37 at Aldi's. And, women, one of the first things they want is security. And so Brittany was definitely not feeling secure at that time. We were about to have our first baby, And so after we went home, and I was like, man, I really got to get this financial thing figured out. And so for the next few months, I felt like God told me to study prosperity and faith. So every morning I would study prosperity, and every evening I would study faith. And for the next 4 months, we increased our incomes by $40,000. But what was crazy to me was I didn't do a whole lot of crazy different stuff in my life. Like, I didn't really change careers. It wasn't anything crazy. I was doing pretty much the same stuff, but we were making more money. And so the idea was I was changing on the inside. Some of the stuff that was inside was beginning to get exposed, like poverty and scarcity, which will continually creep into your life every day, especially when you go grocery shopping. You know what I'm saying? There's 3 items and it's $75, So I started realizing that poverty and scarcity was mine. That was the one thing that was keeping me from going to the next level. Poverty and scarcity. And so every single year for as long as I could remember, my goal was to make more money. My goal was to make more money. I wanted to make 6 figures. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. It was always making money, but I was never addressing the inner man. It was always doing all these external things that could potentially make me more money, but I was never able to break past that because I was never addressing the main thing that was keeping me broke, which was the scarcity mentality and the poverty mentality. So if we want to actually have ongoing success, what we want to do is we want to go after identity-based goals, which is you first have to become. So you first have to become, and then you have to do, and then you will have, which is complete opposite of what we want, right? First we want to have, and then, okay. How you doing, sir?
Doing well.
Doing good. It's kind of the opposite of what we want to do every single time, right? We always want to have first, and then we want to do. Sometimes we don't really want to do. And then we don't even really care about being and becoming something different, right? So if I was to look back in the past, I wanted to make 6 figures, right? I wanted to have it first. Oh man, now it's caught your face. I'm right here. There we go. Okay, it was just recording your face. Um, I thought somebody was crying. Was that somebody crying? Okay. Yeah. Or maybe you left him in there. So, usually the way that we go about goals most of the time is we want the opposite. We do it the other way around. First, we want to have, and then we want to do. Sometimes we don't want to do, and then we don't even really worry about being who we need to become. Now, what I realized now, fast forward, is that first, the thing we want to do is first we need to become the person that would be able to steward the thing that we want. Then we want to do the thing, and then we will have by default. So this right here, we don't even have to worry about it. All we have to do is become the person, do the stuff, and we will have. You see how it's like complete opposite of the way we would go about goals or the way we would go about things. I remember before I met Brittany, obviously we're the only guys here, so nobody else would know what I'm talking about. But I'm like, I want a 10 girl, you know, in guys' eyes, like, well, you know what a 10 is, and so I remember like just thinking like, yeah, I want a 10 girl, this is what a 10 would look like. But I'm over here like a 2, you know. Why would I have a 10 when I'm a 2? I'm lazy. I don't have a job. I'm not responsible. I don't take full responsibility. Like we're talking like a level 10 girl, right? And then I'm over here a level 2 guy, you know? And of course, later on when I became a little bit more mature, I realized maybe, just maybe, I'm supposed to first become the husband that would steward a really awesome wife, and then perhaps maybe she will come, you know. And it did happen that way, and so I realized first that this applies to anything. This applies to absolutely everything, every part of our lives. It applies to that. It applies to money. It applies to dating. It applies to, I mean, really everything. And so I like to look at life from the standpoint of first addressing the spiritual and then the physical. Never the physical first and then the spiritual, because you will never get to the bottom of things if you're just addressing the physical, right? So if I keep on having money problems and I'm thinking maybe I need to go back to school, maybe I have the wrong career, maybe I have the wrong job, maybe the wrong president is in the house, maybe it's my boss. Those are all, we're missing the point there. Maybe the economy, maybe it's inflation. It's none of those things. It's always me. And that is the first thing we have to do. We have to take full responsibility. Someone told me this one day. He said, you have to take full responsibility even when it's not your fault. Because like, even if it's somebody else's fault, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? You might as well just take full responsibility, So going back to all of that stuff, if you identify some things that keep happening in your life, right? You keep dating the same people, you keep attracting the same stuff into your life, begin to think about the thought patterns that you are constantly having. You're not enough, you suck, you're dumb, you're always going to, like, all these thought patterns are you continually having. Begin to identify what those thought patterns are that you're continually having, because I guarantee you they are attached to what we call your identity. You're lying to yourself and you are adopting an identity that is a lie. Lie identity. It's a lie. You are actually bringing forth things that you don't want because you believe all these thoughts. And so it doesn't matter how many goals you set every single year, because you're not changing your identity, nothing ever gets accomplished. And even if it does get accomplished for a time, it usually doesn't stay, So let's go back to this real quick. Because I think all of us want to make more money, right? Maybe some of us don't really want to make more money. All of us want to make more money, right? So if we were to look at it the right way, to make more money, so say our goal is to make $200,000 a year. I don't really need to worry about making $200,000 a year. I can backtrack and think, what would I have to do to make $200,000 a year, right? But then even at that, it's like, well, what do I do? Like, do I change careers? Do I reach out to more people? So you have to take it a step further, and you have to ask yourself, who do I need to become so that I can attract $200,000 into my life? Can you imagine if I brought up an apple and then I cut it open and it had seeds, like orange seeds or like pear seeds? You'd be like, well, that's weird. How could an apple have a pear seeds, right? A seed always produces after its kind. So if you're a $200,000 person, you will by default earn $200,000 a year, right? So if you're a $10,000 a year person, do you think you will have a $200,000 a year income? Never, right? What is the first thing that a wealthy person does? They take responsibility. It is never other people's fault, even when it sometimes is. They take full responsibility for their results. Full responsibility for their results. What's another thing? Perhaps they have really good leadership skills, right? What's another thing? Perhaps they are very disciplined. And this could go across different areas. It could be physically, it could be financially, it could be across different areas, right? What's another thing? Perhaps, what's another thing that you think a wealthy person would have, a quality?
Positive mindset.
Okay, a positive mindset. Okay, positive and an abundance mentality, okay? This thing is done. And anybody else? Okay, good stewards. Good steward. Okay, a few more.
A lot of times they have coaches.
Okay, so they're teachable. Teachable and willing to invest in themselves. Invest in selves. That's actually a really good point, because think of me or think of you, and put this person right here in this bucket, and this person earns $10,000 a year, okay? And then in this bucket, put another you that earns $200,000 a year, okay? And if we were to put in this bucket the net worth, and we could see what makes up this person and what makes up this person, we could see what is making this person earn $10,000 a year and this person make $200,000 a year. Perhaps this person would be full of books that they've read, mentors, incredible accountability partners around them, right? Awesome habits. And perhaps this person blames the government, they blame everybody else, they've never read a book, right? They wake up at 3 p.m. every day, they are constantly like, my boss should pay me more, right? They need to lower taxes. All this different stuff is always somebody else's fault, right? Yeah, just entitlement, right? So if you were to look at your life that way, as far as your net worth goes, what if every time you bought a book and you read it, you immediately felt your net worth going up? What if you just played a game with yourself? That's actually what I do. I've never told you that. But that's actually what I do. Every time that I watch a video that educates me, I imagine my net worth just going up because I gained a new skill. Every time I read a book, I imagine my net worth just going up because I've gained another skill, you know? So most of the time we're like, I don't know what to do. Like I have all these goals, but I just don't know what to do. The first thing you can do is work on your personal growth. Because if you not become a better quality person, you will have opportunities come to you all the time, you know? You will have opportunities come to you all the time. Just in the past 3 months, I have had some opportunities that I never would have been able to have if I wasn't the person that could steward those opportunities. You know, what did it come with? Education. We have to educate ourselves, right? So that was a really good point. Anything else? Say what?
Get up early.
Man, I'm still trying to get good at that one. So perhaps like not snoozing the alarm, right? Okay.
Less TV, social
Okay. So like wasting time.
media. Yeah, well, this is all things I know I should be doing.
Paige is like, I feel attacked.
It's after myself.
Okay, great. Anything else? Okay, good. Now think about all of these qualities, right? This will keep you busy. Think about the type of person that you would be if you took responsibility 100% of the time. 100% of the time, right? So let's hear some stuff out real quick. Who do you think you would have to be if you took 100% responsibility all the time? Jesus? Okay. Yeah. More specific. Huh? Yeah. You. Okay. Yeah. One thing that I know, like for me, it would be like I would ask myself better questions. You know, if something happened, I'll be like, what can I do right now to take full responsibility for this? Rather than like, well, it was their fault, it was her fault, it was my wife's fault. She shouldn't have talked to me like that. You know, it's like, what can I do right now to take full responsibility? I guarantee you, you're gonna get an answer, guaranteed. One mentor told me one day, he said, the quality of your life is determined by the questions you ask yourself. And that is 100% true. Leadership. What is one thing you would do if you wanted to acquire the skill of a good leader? Perhaps I would read every single one of John Maxwell's books. Like every single one of them. Every single one of them. You know, and then apply one skill that you learn from the book. Maybe apply it around your friends, apply it with your family. Discipline. What is one thing that you could do to be more disciplined? Perhaps no procrastination, and perhaps like the do it now principle of if you can do it now and it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it now. You know, I need to get better at that one. A more positive attitude. Here, this one would be very important because here you would have to take and be very watchful of your intake. If you have a negative intake, you will never be a positive individual. So in order for you to be a positive individual, you will have to watch your intake, what you listen to, what you talk about, who you talk to, who talks to you. Like you would have to have a positive circle around you. This is why reading the Bible is so crucial. When I think of reading the Bible, I remember Miles Monroe said one day, I think he said it was 16 or 17. Anybody knows who Miles Monroe is? Yeah, well, he's the man. Miles Monroe said one day, he was a preacher. Really, he was more than a preacher, but I think he was either 16 or 17. He said, I understood that if I could just read the Bible and adopt the discipline of reading the Bible every day, I would acquire wisdom. And so all he did is he didn't even try to understand the Bible. He would just read it. He made it a goal to read the Bible every single year at least once. And for his entire life, he did that. And so he said, later on, I just became wise by default because of my intake, right? So if you watch your intake, you will be a more positive person. I remember, not going to say who it is. Well, nobody knows who that person is here anyways, but This person started listening to this like radio little audios of like how the spouse would like cheat on the other spouse. It was just, I don't even know what kind of dumb show that was. And so the husband started like just constantly asking questions to the wife, like, why are you all of a sudden asking me these weird questions like I'm cheating on you, you know? And turns out he was listening to these dumb shows in the radio. You know what I'm saying? Like, why? That's dumb. Imagine listening to broke people all the time and their advice. You'll probably be broke too. Like everybody complaining about the Stanley Cups right now. Like, dude, you're missing the point. You know what I'm saying? Be happy for them. You are sowing a seed of poverty. Every word that we say, every thought that we have is a seed. And so by saying, how dare they make $150 for a cup? It's like you're planting a seed into your own life saying, why would anybody pay for my services? Right? Because who gets to say it's too much? There's not a rule book that says 150 is too much, it's too much money. That thought process is the same thought process that says, why did you buy a $100,000 car when you could have sold that car and given it to the poor and just bought a $10,000 car? That's too much, right? Well, who gets to say it's too much? Perhaps you could have sold your $5,000 car and you could have fed the poor. But you're like, yeah, but mine is just $5,000. Okay, but who gets to say it's too much? Who made you the judge, right? Is this little thought patterns that make us broke? You know what I'm saying? Because who are we to judge, right? Who gets to say a $100,000 car is too much, but perhaps your $5,000 car is not too much? For someone that lives in a certain country, your $5,000 car would be a lot, you know? So this little weird, goofy thought patterns is what keeps us broke. You know what I'm saying? But we hear this stuff all the time, you know? So we have to really watch this one. I mean, honestly, if this whole year you could just watch this one, your life would change. Seriously. Like, your life would change. I don't like goofiness around me anymore. So, like, if I ever have people around, well, I don't anymore. But if I would ever have people that just are saying goofy stuff around me, I don't want any of that stuff around me. Because I don't want it to come into my life. You know, I don't want goofiness like that, like just goofy stuff, you know? So you want to, and then actually this is attached to this. There's no way to have a positive mindset and an abundance mindset if we don't watch our intake. Intake is everything, you know? Good steward, really, it goes with being a responsible person. Being teachable goes with being humble, you know, willing to invest in yourself. Not snoozing the alarm. I mean, that's going to take some discipline. And wasting time, once again, being responsible. So there's a lot of different things here. This right here is not sexy. It is boring, you know? Because who in the world, it's like, what is your one goal in 2024? I want to be a more responsible person. No, but how much money do you want to make, you know? It's this stuff that will give you the ongoing stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I think making goals and having goals is good, and you should have those goals. I do too. But what I'm saying is, goals without addressing the inner man usually don't stick. So have those goals, but then backtrack and think, who do I need to become to make sure that I accomplish those goals? Quick example. My wife started a YouTube channel, right? If she was like, okay, my goal in the whole be, do, have. My goal is to be monetized on YouTube. I want to get paid from YouTube. What is one quality that I could adopt from a YouTuber that is already getting paid? Consistency, right? Because they're consistent, continually posting stuff, right? So what do I have to do is I need to be consistent. Okay, so who do I need to become? I need to become a consistent individual and create a plan around my routine to make sure that I stay consistent, you know? And so Brittany had no idea. Maybe it's going to take a week. Maybe it's going to take a year. Maybe it's going to take 5 years for her to get monetized. All she knew was, I need to stay consistent and the thing will come, you know? And so it came, right? Because she stayed consistent, right? If we were to approach our goals this way, we would hit them every single time, every single time, you know? The only thing we have to do is break it down. Break it down so much that we ask ourselves, who do I need to become? I remember when I wanted to get married, I thought, who do I need to become? The first thing I thought was like, well, I should probably stop watching porn. That'll probably be the first thing. The second thing would be, I should probably stop messing around with girls. You know, that'd be the second thing. Actually, the first thing, you know. So like, I was thinking like, I will never attract, God will never bring me a really awesome wife if I keep on doing this goofy stuff, you know. Don't get me wrong, I still didn't get it right. You know, I still watch porn after we got married. You know, that's right, we keep it real in here. So, but my point was, at least I identified when I made when what was attracting, well, what I kept getting in my life was because of the daily stuff that I was doing, and that goes it goes the same with money, with anything, right? So I want you to take away one thing. One thing. If you could adopt the be, do, have principle into your life every single time that you think of a goal, that you think of an outcome, break it down. Break it down and think, okay, what do I need to do? But before that, who do I need to become? And then once I realize, like, who do I need to become? Then create a plan. Okay, now what do I need to do to make sure that I become this person? And then by default, you will have the thing, you know? So for example, I'm going to go one by one real quick, okay? Imagine that you want to become a criminal, okay? Who do you need to become a criminal? Wicked? Okay, but like what do you need to do? Who would you need to become wicked? What would you have to do?
I mean, I would have to change my complete thought process of how I view life. I would have to change the people I'm around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You would probably have to. You would.
You're like your next YouTube.
Yeah. Here's how you can guarantee to become a wicked person. You know, you would probably have to start reading the Bible. You know, you probably have to stop going to church, right? So if you think about like one thing, like what is one thing that will guarantee failure in your business if you do this one thing? What is one thing that will guarantee failure in your business if you did this one thing? For me, I know one thing that will guarantee, that will guarantee failure in my business will be being late and perhaps snoozing the alarm, right? So what do I have to do? All I have to do is be on time and not snooze the alarm. And I know there will be some success from that. You know what I'm saying? It's my goal, right? So think about that one thing, you know? What is the one thing that you want to have? Who do you need to become? And then what do you have to do? So it goes like this. It goes from here, what do you want to have, to who do you need to become, to what do you have to do, and then eventually you will have. That's what it goes like. So write it down somewhere so that you don't forget it. So what do you want to have? Then ask yourself, who do I need to become? And then what do I have to do? And then by default, I will have. Who in here knows that that God brings the increase? God brings the increase. Means you and I don't bring the increase. We're supposed to sow seeds. We are supposed to sow seeds. That means you don't know what that increase is going to look like. That means that perhaps our goal this year is to be 7-figure earners, but I don't know. You know, all I can do is sow the seed and God will bring the increase. Most of the time, we want to bring the increase and we don't want to do any seed sowing. And when I mean seed sowing, I'm talking like speaking right, believing right, you know, all that stuff, because all that stuff is a seed. It's not just money, right? So If God brings the increase, then that means all we have to do is sow the good seed. Sow the good seed. And if we sow the good seed, somewhere, somehow, God will bring the increase. And if we do that consistently, just by default, if you do that consistently, you will outwork most people out there. Because really, I mean, you just stay in the game long enough, you will outlast people. You know what I'm saying? I started Path to Freedom in 2013 when I had no idea what I was doing. And the only reason why I started Path to Freedom, which was called Path to Freedom Fitness then, was because I was a personal trainer and I wanted to get girls' phone numbers. So I thought, if I become a personal trainer, I've noticed that anytime I send a personal trainer, I get the girl's phone number by default. So I thought maybe I could just start a company. And I would just be like, they'll be like, what? So what do you do? Oh, I have a fitness company. I'm a personal trainer, but I'm not making any money, you know? And so that was my goal. But then I started realizing I would do this health consultations, and then people would like cry in front of me. And then I was like, man, there's probably something more to this stuff. And then I realized I got really good and really passionate about the whole fitness thing. And then I started learning about corrective exercise, people with different health problems because of something that happened in their life. And so I realized the same thing that keeps happening with people is they keep on, after accomplishing their goals, they go back to old habits after a certain amount of time. And that caused me to study how the mind works, which is what caused me to begin to realize that everything is connected. And so it's not just fitness, it's like money and it's all this stuff, you know. Then fast forward a few years later, in 2015, after I was suicidal, almost killed myself after going through a pretty bad breakup. During that time, I met God for real. Like I met him for real. And ever since that time, my identity changed and the way that I saw myself changed. And ever since the way I saw myself changed, things in my life started changing by default. And that's when everything clicked. Everything is about identity, no matter what we do. Now, personally, I feel like you cannot change 100% for real without understanding how God sees you. Because even if you're not a God person, even if you don't have any faith in your life or anything like that, I guarantee you still think about God. I guarantee it. I can guarantee you probably still think about God. And usually, the way you will perceive God will be the way that you experience God, even if you don't believe in God or anything like that. The way you perceive God will be the way that you experience God. And the way that you perceive God will be the way that you will live life, you know? And so for me, I started understanding that everything has to be addressed first inside. And then from there, everything else will follow. So one by one, let's do this real quick as we close. What is one thing? One thing that you can take away, that you can really focus on this year, that you know that if you become that person and you do the stuff to become that person, you will have that one thing. What is that one thing? Okay, for me, I will go first. I want to be a more disciplined person. I want to be a more disciplined person because I personally, this is just me, okay? I personally don't think that you are much of a man if you are not disciplined. I think, I mean, people could have a different opinion. This is just me, all right? I just think of laziness and just not being disciplined as, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I grew up. You know, maybe that's just the way my dad raised me of like a man is a disciplined person, you know? Now, that doesn't, I'm not talking about perfection, right? I'm not saying I would be perfect. I'm just simply saying I want to, if I'm taking care of my family, then I know there's certain things that I need to do and take care of myself first if I really want to take care of my whole family, you know? Now, of course, this is a pretty traditional thought process. Some people don't think that way, and that's okay, right? Whatever it is that works for people, as long as it's working for them, you can grab that thought pattern and take it to the bank. But if it's not working for you, you might want to adopt a different thought pattern. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people will fight you on like the things that you believe, but then their life has no fruit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, if you have no fruit, you might want to adopt a new thought process because the things that you've been believing your entire life have caused you to produce this kind of fruit. And there's no fruit there. So perhaps you need to adopt a new thought pattern so that you can produce better fruit. So for me, I want to become a disciplined person, right? So I know what I need to do to become a disciplined person. And perhaps if I keep that up, gosh, I'm burning up. And perhaps if I keep on becoming a better disciplined individual, I will be a 7-figure earner. You know, maybe not. But as long as I stay consistent, I know it will happen. I mean, I know it will happen, but you know what I mean. So for me, 2 things that I can do to become a more disciplined person. We talked about it, being on time, no snoozing, and no procrastination. Um, so those are 3 things for me. Simple. And my wife is probably going like, yes, you know? So, okay, what's one thing for you guys? Let's go with Giselle real quick. Let's not worry too much about the have real quick. Is the person that you need to become, right? Okay, so what do you got to do to be more disciplined? Mm-hmm. You say what? Don't hit the snooze button? Okay. What's another thing? Let's do 3. Mm-hmm. If you want to be disciplined, you want to be around disciplined people. If you're around a bunch of lazy people, you might want to get a new circle. You know, that'd be one thing to do. Sir?
Yeah, I agree with you. Discipline is what it is. As you can see, I'm kind of old man. I believe discipline has got me far. A lot of things. I think of discipline. I love the way you teach. I think of discipline as a seed.
Mm-hmm.
That if you plant discipline, you can expect a perfect harvest.
Mm.
You can expect to be disciplined in your decision, disciplined in your action,
Mm-hmm.
disciplined in your conversation, disciplined in all their areas. You can expect best.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. 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 Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sweet. Miss Page. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what do you have to do? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's good. It's good. Okay.
I really like that you said mindset. That's definitely one for me as well. I tend to, get really down on myself. I mean, most people do, but that's one thing I want to stop doing is putting myself down or not saying like, oh, it'll never happen, or kind of that inner dialogue. I want to change up. So that's definitely one. Well, before you said that,